Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I hope that you are doing well. In today's video, I'm going to talk about my top 10 books that I read in 2024. But first, I wanted to just say a little thank you for all of the positive feedback and comments on my last video. So that video was the first one that I had filmed and uploaded in about a year, and I didn't know what to expect. I had gone on an unexpected break, as I talk about in that video, but the response was my kitten, Anya, that I also showed in my last video. She opened the door and came in, so I had to go kick her out. But yeah, the response to that video was really, I was just so happy with how positive it was overall, and people just left really nice comments, so that meant a lot to me. Thank you, if you did, or if you just watched the video. If you didn't, that's okay. Anyway, thank you again, and making that video and getting feedback on it really motivated me to make more videos. So that's why I'm here today, quicker than I expected to make another video. I had talked about how I felt like a good guess for, also I am filming this on a Tuesday at around rush hour, so there might be like more cuts than usual, I guess, or than in my last one. I was really happy with my last one because I didn't have to make that many cuts. I do live by some busy streets, so there's a lot of street noise sometimes, but last time I filmed on a Saturday morning and it was pretty quiet, but today this isn't the best time to film because of that noise, so there'll be more cuts probably. I think that's it for so I also want to thank you actually, for commenting different questions that you want me to answer, and just giving me affirmation that you want to hear, about my PhD experience and my new job. I just feel like I could kind of talk for a while about that, and it could be useful to people, or it could just it'd be kind of a ramble, talk you to sleep video. I do plan to do that, and to make, I don't know if they'll be combined or not, but also talking about those other things, like my kind of journey getting my PhD, and just like more of the general transition period stuff over the last year. So thank you for those comments too. And just thank you for being here. I did also want to say, so obviously today's video is going to be me talking about books, and as I said in my last video, I still read a lot, and the main thing I do on my channel is talk about books and reading. And I still want to do that, but I did just want to, I guess it's something I forgot to mention last time, is because I can't read as much now because I have a full-time job. I guess I just think there's a possibility that I will need even more other ideas of things to talk about. I do have, a list of video ideas that don't have to do with books, so I think I can come up with stuff, but if you can think of anything, let me know. So for example, because I do like talking about just like life, and those are my talking you to sleep videos, but I do also want to be able to talk about lighter topics like reading, and just more, because I feel like some people might not want to listen to deeper things. So let me know if you have ideas. So for example, I have been really into movies lately. I've always been into movies, but lately it's not like I've been watching a million of them, but I've been watching, I guess, more than my typical amount, and I listen to podcasts and YouTube videos about movies, on my commutes and when I'm just like doing stuff around the house. So I feel like I could put together like a list of movie recommendations or top 10 movies that I watched last year. So I might do that. Let me know what you think. And I think that's it for like, stuff to talk about up top. So I will get into my top 10 books that I read in 2024. Now, I also plan on doing a tier ranking video, tier ranking all of the books that I read in the year. Oh, I just remember one more thing. It's obvious, but I have a different background today. So, and this is really bugging me. How you can see my ring light in that picture. I hope it doesn't bother you too much. But I do really like my ring light. I don't want to turn it off. If it's dark outside, I need the light. But that does bother me. So I might play around with that at some point, but I don't know, I feel like I might film sometimes in front of this more simple, I guess, background compared to my bookshelf, because my bookshelf is nice, but I find it kind of busy to look at. So I guess let me know what you think about that too. These are kind of like vintagey things on the wall. Some sailboats, and lady slippers. And that's kind of the theme we have in this corner. Anyway, let's get into the books. Some of these I read like near the beginning of the year, so I might have a hard time remembering what happened in them. Definitely won't be able to remember all the characters' names, but I might look stuff up as I go. I don't think I've ever mentioned this, but I did start, all last year, I kept track of the books that I read in a note on my phone, and that was my reading journal. So, for every book I read, I put, like, just the basic information about it, like, what genre, the title, author, the main characters, and the dates that I read it. And I'd put a little picture of the book, and then I'd put a summary, so some of those were more detailed than others, but if I kept up with it, it was really detailed explanations of the plot. And then I had a little section with my thoughts. So the main goal of that for me was to try to help me remember what happened and the characters and my thoughts. So I might also refer to that as I'm talking today. Yeah, just give me 1 second. Actually, I'm gonna grab my laptop. Okay, I have my laptop with my reading journal. I'm going to go in order from my least favorite to my top most favorite. And again, these are my top 10. Overall, I will say I'd call this year a mediocre reading year, because I found some what I would call all-time favorite books, but I went through a lot of reading slumps, and of course that probably had to do with the transitions that I went through over the year, but yeah, for whatever reason, I went through a lot of periods where I found it hard to finish books, and I think I was just picking up books that I shouldn't have been, books that weren't, like, that I should have known that I wouldn't really like, but I kind of, like, got in these, I kept getting stuck wanting to read books that other people on YouTube had read, and I just wanted to be a part of the club, basically, which isn't a good idea, because you're just gonna waste time and end up not liking the book or not finishing it. It's unavoidable sometimes, of course, like, you can't always know or make the right decision, but I just feel like I did that a little bit too much over the year. But it was a good reading year overall. And I did still read a lot of books, but I guess I would have liked to have gotten to more, or like more books that I really want to read that I just keep putting off because newer ones come out that other people read. So I want to try this year to avoid that. I do have a list of books that I want to read this year. 25 books to read in 2025. And I plan to make that video soon. And that list is like trying to prioritize the books that I've been putting off for a long time, and I even have physical copies of them, and they have a good shot at being good. So look out for that video if you're interested. Okay, so the 10th favorite, I have them in a pile up here, and I don't have physical copies for all of them, but I do have most. So number 10. Okay, if you noticed the camera just flipped, that's because I realized I had to turn off the mirroring feature. That's something I forget to do a lot. But when you're bringing up books, it's annoying to see it backwards. Alright. So, number 10 is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. I hope you guys still like my gentle tapping on the books and tracing. So this is a fantasy novel. It's a very popular one, so if you read fantasy, you might have already read it, probably have heard about it. V.E. Schwab is a big author, but this is the only book that I've read by her, I think. It's a her, right? I hope so. I did start to read Vicious by V.E. Schwab, and I did not finish it, but I'm not ruling out trying it again. I don't even remember why I stopped. I think I might have just wanted to read a different book. But The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, I really loved. I gave it 4.5 stars. It was close to a 5-star for me. So this book follows Adeline. I only remember the basic idea, which is that Addie LaRue, she's immortal, but she's invisible because people forget who she is within a few moments of meeting her. So I'll read you my summary, or at least parts of it, because it's pretty long. So I said the story flips between 1714 and 2014. So 1714, way back there. I said essentially between the time when she first became immortal / invisible and the present. So in 1714, she was in France, extremely unhappy and about to go into a forced marriage. I think she was 24 at the time. On the eve of the wedding, desperate to get out of the marriage, she decides last minute to run away and pray to the gods. I also just realized I can't read all these summaries because it'll spoil it. But basically she gets this like curse on her where she's forgotten by everybody, but she's immortal. So it's kind of an interesting, well, it's a really interesting conundrum, like, philosophically. Like, is this kind of trade-off worth it? Or is it, you know, good or bad to live forever, but you're forgotten by everybody? But you might see this coming, but there's a love interest. His name's Henry, and this is making me want to reread this book, because I'm remembering stuff now, and how good their writing was and how connected I was. Yeah, I really loved Addie. I think I've heard some people say they didn't like her, but I really liked her character. And yeah, this concept is really interesting to me, because, you know, I'm like terrified of dying, so the idea of living forever really appeals to me. But then you can see where not being able to make connections could make your life kind of miserable. So yeah, she meets this guy Henry, and then things, they get more interesting. Yeah, so this is, I really recommend checking this out if you haven't yet and you like fantasy. Although it's not even really fantasy, it's kind of just, yeah, you know, if I like get into fantasy stuff, it's more, yeah, there's just this curse. That's kind of the fantasy part, and then the person that put the curse on her is, of course, like mythical and not human, but yeah, so for my thoughts here, I said slow, but otherwise close to perfect. So I guess that was my, like, gripe with it, is that I found it slow. I said really flowy writing, thought-provoking, ending was amazing. I do remember thinking the ending was amazing. I think it was sad, though. Could have used some more relationship development and development of Luke's character. Luke is the shadow. No, not the shadow. The darkness, which is the person who put the curse on her. So yeah, you guys, I think you would like this if you like kind of thinking about this kind of concept. And it's very character driven, I'd say. Like, you get a lot of Addie's thoughts and feelings. So yeah, now I want to reread that book. So that just made the top 10 list, number 10. Alright, number 9. Number 9 is a non-fiction book. I have a video on my channel of my favorite non-fiction books. I think it was maybe my second video ever. It was way back. And I guess it would have been 2023. And if you're interested, check that out. But I don't really talk about nonfiction anymore because I stopped reading it, essentially. Aside from a few here and there, some memoirs and some more like this one. So, this is 4,000 Weeks by Oliver Burkeman. So, this book, if I had made that favorite nonfiction books today, this would definitely make that list 100%. I plan to reread this and underline and highlight stuff, because I didn't do that the first time I was reading on my Kindle. Or maybe I did, but I want to do it with the physical copy. So 4,000 Weeks, 4,000 Weeks Time Management for Mortals. And this book is all about dealing with it's like a brand new take on self-help and how to feel more productive and happier in your life. So it is a self-help book, but it's like also very anti-self-help. Hard to explain, but it deals with this. It uses this fact that we, on average, only have 4,000 weeks in our life. And yeah, I'm having trouble remembering the specific arguments. Let me see if I wrote about it. I didn't write much about this. I just said, life-changing for me within 30 pages. I will be doing a reread with the physical copy and annotating. But yeah, I gave it 5 stars. I'd really recommend this. Really, really recommend. I remember it felt like it had changed my life, but now I'm sad because I don't remember what it talks about, so it didn't really stick. But it says on the back, what if you stopped trying to do everything? We're obsessed with our lengthening to-do lists, our overfilled inboxes, and the sense that our attention spans are shriveling. But to find peace of mind, we must confront the ultimate time management problem, the question of how best to use our ridiculously brief time on the planet, which amounts on average to about 4,000 weeks. Oliver Berkman's book is an uplifting, engrossing, and deeply realistic exploration of how to face our finitude by embracing rather than denying our limitations, and in doing so, unlock a more meaningful life. And there's a quote on the back. It says, "This book is wonderful," and I agree. So yeah, check this out if you haven't yet. It's pretty short too, and I'm sure there's an audiobook that's good too. I love listening to nonfiction books. So that's number 9. Okay, number 8. Number 8 is a book I think about quite a bit, and that is Shark Heart. This is by Emily Habeck. I really like this cover. I love purple. And yeah, I like the shark with the flowers. So I think about this book a lot because I felt like it depicted love really well and in a unique way. a very emotional and serious book, but the concept is kind of funny. It's about a couple, and the guy has this disease. So in this like world, there are these diseases where people will turn into animals, other animals, if you want to think about us as animals. So he has a disease, and he turns into a shark, a great white shark. And I gave this book 4 stars. I remember, I think it was just a little too weird for me at some points. But I really loved the writing. It's very different. And just super good at depicting love. So what I said is, felt to me almost like a memoir, or multiple memoirs in one. Yeah, because now I'm remembering, I think it has multiple point of views. Definitely emotional, and I liked it a lot. Not my favorite writing, but I did like it a lot. Reminded me of Tomorrow, and Tomorrow. Okay, I didn't remember thinking of that comparison. So if you don't know, Tomorrow, and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin is one of my favorite books that I've read. And yeah, that's... I'm surprised I said not my favorite writing. I think I just... yeah. I just remember it being a little weird sometimes. But other than that, I loved it. It's just really, like, unique. And it says a love story, and it just really feels like a love story. It's really hard, like, to imagine some things that happen. Like, they're almost unbearably sad. So keep that in mind if you're gonna read it. But, yeah. Definitely recommend Shark Heart. So that's number 8. Number 7 is a book that I talked about a little bit. In my last video, when I was talking about Emily Henry, because her new release last year called Funny Story was one of my honorable mentions on this list, which I talked about in that video. If you want to watch that, it's near the end. But this is now my top Emily Henry book. I've read all of her contemporary romance books, and this is People We Meet on Vacation. And if you have read Emily Henry, know about the Emily Henry world, you probably have seen that, or you might think that this is her worst book. But yeah, for me, it was my favorite. And I explained this before, but I think it might have been because I was picturing 2 actors really vividly, and it really fit the characters to me. And I think that helped me like it so much. I can't remember what the plot is, really. I remember it as second chance romance. It's that trope, romance trope, and that's one of my favorite, possibly my favorite romance trope. In my journal, so I gave this 5 stars. I was very into it. I read it fast and just really liked the whole thing. It's just fun too. It's not very serious, in contrast to the last book. Yeah, I don't remember it feeling very serious, and sometimes that just hits really well. I think it's timing as well. But in my journal for the summary, I said, so the main characters are named Alex is the guy, and then Poppy is the girl, which is a very unique name, and I like it. Alex and Poppy have been friends forever. They have always gone on a yearly vacation together, but we learn early on that their relationship ended 2 years ago. Somehow they end up going on another vacation together, and this is when they slowly come to terms with the fact that they're in love with each other. Yeah, so it's like childhood friends to lovers, too. Which, yeah, I really like those. I said I loved this book so much. I felt the attraction between the two characters. I was invested in them. I liked both of them, and the vibes were great. Yeah, so let me know if you have read any of her books and which is your favorite. And if you really disagree with me on this one. But yeah, this, I'm not surprised that I put it in this list. Okay, I think we're on number 6. 10, 9, 8, 7, yep, 6. I hope this is relaxing for you guys, or interesting. Okay, the next 2 books are by the same author, and that is Taylor Jenkins Reid. I have now read all of her books, which I think is very cool. I think she's the only author that I know for sure I've read all of their books. And she's definitely one of my favorites. If you want, I could make a video about all of her books and ranking them and just talking more in depth about them. But so number 6 is After I Do by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Up until last year, I had read all of her newest releases. This and the next one I'm going to talk about are more on her like backlist. And I'm surprised how much I liked those ones, older ones. This one was my second favorite of the ones I read on her backlist. And this, I think I gave 4 stars. Let me see. I only gave this 3 stars. So, how did this make the list? Well, the thing is, I think about this book all the time. Because it talks about things in such a genuine, honest way that I haven't seen in any other books, and it's considered romance, but it's like it's about a marriage falling apart. And yeah, I'll read the summary, except for any spoilers. it says we start during an argument between Lauren and Ryan. We then learn that their relationship started off amazing, but has gone way downhill. And yeah, now they essentially hate each other. One could argue they don't hate each other, but it seems like they hate each other. They fight a lot. They're just, like, really unhappy. And most of the book is following them over a year break. So they take a break. They say, maybe this will help and prevent us from, like, getting divorced. So they take a year break, and there's a lot of reflecting on both of their parts. And it's a book, the message is just really, in my opinion, a really good one, which is it almost is dealing with codependency, that topic. And the message is kind of like, you don't need to need somebody to be in a relationship with them. You can just want to be with them instead of needing, if that makes sense. I said I liked the message and a lot of the self-reflection that happened throughout the book. I also loved the representation of the negative, scary sides of romantic relationships, which a lot of romance books only touch on superficially. I said, but I didn't love the characters, and I didn't fully connect enough to give it a 4 or a 5. The ending was also quite rushed. A 3.5 technically is what I would rate it, I said. So yeah, I don't know if that sounds like something you could enjoy, where it's much more real than a typical romance book. I would check that out if you haven't. But yeah, it might not be for everybody. And the next one on the list, number 5, is One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And this is absolutely a 5-star book for me. I loved this one. It's definitely my favorite of her backlist, and it might be up there for all of her books. I'm trying to find it in my list. So, this follows Emma, Sam, and Jesse. So, the concept of this book is very provocative. I don't know if that's the right word. Different, provocative. She's in a relationship with this guy, and she loves him a lot. And then he gets in a plane crash, helicopter crash, can't remember which. And it is just, it's assumed that he is dead. They don't find him. That kind of thing. And so she deals with all this intense grief. And then, I hope I'm remembering this right, that she falls in love with somebody else. Yeah, they fall in love. She gets engaged to somebody else. And then, what do you know? The first guy is not dead. And she gets a phone call from him. And so then it's like, what does she do? And so it's like a love triangle, and I never knew who she was gonna end up with until the end, and I don't even remember now. But I said I am in love with this book, one of the easiest books I've ever read. Just the kind of romance I like. I said it reminded me of Love in Other Words, which is one of my favorites. Have to suspend belief a little bit when it comes to Jesse surviving, but that's okay. That's all I said. So yeah, her writing is just amazing, like really easy read and interesting, I guess. Really makes me feel stuff, and I think I feel similar to a lot of her characters too. Okay. I think I messed up the numbers. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Why do I only have 8 books? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, I guess. Because I don't have all of the physical copies. Okay, I messed up, you guys. So I missed one book because I forgot I didn't have it physically. So after Shark Heart, I would say number 7 on my list is Heartstopper. So I read all of Heartstopper, which is a graphic novel series, and which I don't read much of. But Heartstopper was really popular last year, and so I ended up trying it, and it's so good. It's very, very heartwarming and very, very important, I feel like, in what it talks about. It talks about a lot of heavy topics, but does so in a gentle way. And it's about high schoolers, so it's like young adult. But it's really, really cute, really, really good. So that made my list. So then number 6 is People We Meet on Vacation. Number 5 is After I Do. Number 4, When True Loves. And now we're at number 3. So number 3 is the Magnolia Parks, The Long Way Home. Isn't this cover so pretty? So all the stuff in it is related to the book. Not necessarily the ship, but I love it. I love the art and the sunset and the sky. So, I love this series, which I'm kind of surprised about because no, I'm not that surprised, but it's very emotional. If you don't know, this is a pretty long series. It has books that follow the couple in this one, which is Magnolia, Parks, and BJ. And then there's other books in the series that follow different couples. And super character driven and not plot driven. And deals with a lot of toxicity in relationships. And it deals with some heavy stuff, not too much. It's a lot of just you're in the characters' heads. And it's super, in my opinion, romantic. And this is by Jessa Hastings. And her writing is really cool. and very unique. She's very poetic. And yes, those are the reasons that I like it so much. I can't remember what happens in this one. I believe this is like the most like sad one, but I gave this one 5 stars. I said I fell back in love with the series. So by that I meant before this I had read the books following the other couples, which are called the Daisy Hates books. And so like I was, I guess, worried that I only liked the very first book, which was the Magnolia Parks. That was the whole title. Book. I said I don't think I care about the Daisy Hates books, but I do absolutely care about the Magnolia books. I could do without the side characters. Yeah, I remember like just wanting Magnolia and BJ the whole time. There are a lot of side characters, and I just never cared about them. I said, and sometimes I get confused because of how many characters there are. But maybe they help the books and I don't realize it. Feels like filler to me though. These books are just the ultimate miscommunication trope. I am okay with that because I like the characters enough to deal with it. I also think that it's clear why they continue to miscommunicate. They are both dealing with their own issues with self-esteem and being okay with vulnerability. A very fun, satisfying book for fans of Magnolia and BJ. A very sad ending, which at this point feels unnecessary. I'm not sure if I'm going to read the 4th book. I might just watch a YouTube video explaining the plot. By the 4th book I meant another Daisy Hates book in the series. But I will of course be reading the 5th book coming out in February because it is focused on Magnolia and BJ again. So on that note, number 2 on my list is Magnolia Parks Into the Dark. I like the back. There's a little baby deer in a bathtub, which represents Magnolia. As does this. So this book it's really long. They're all long, but this one's, I think, the longest. And I think it's the longest book I read this year. 700 something pages. But this book was really, really satisfying. It like wraps everything up really nicely. It's more happier, if I remember correctly. More positive, and there's definitely negative stuff in here, but overall more positive. And the characters just feel like you see a lot of growth, which is very cool. And yeah, just super satisfying, but sad because this is definitely the final book in the series about these characters. I wouldn't be surprised if she does write something else with them in the future, because this series is so beloved. But as far as we know, it's the last one. And yeah, I'd say that's number 2 on my top 10. It could have been number 1, to be honest. Yeah, I need to reread these soon. I've been feeling like rereading them, but it'll take a lot of time because they're very long. And it's always scary rereading stuff because you're worried that, or at least I am worried, that I won't like them as much. and I'll like lose that nice feeling that they give me when I think about them. But yeah, let me know if you have read this series and which books you like the best. Okay, number 1 on my list is, I'm surprised about it. I didn't expect to love this book as much as I did. And it's not even perfect, but yeah, it's definitely not perfect. There are things I didn't, parts of it I didn't love, but I still think it's my top read of the year. So that is The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. This is the second Kristen Hanna book that I've read. My first one was The Nightingale, and I really enjoyed The Nightingale, but I liked this one more. This book is about a girl. She's young when we start out. I can't remember how young. I think like middle school age. And her father is abusive towards her mom. And we are in the 70s. He started to be abusive following fighting in the Vietnam War. And it touches on that topic a bit throughout, but not too much. Like, you know, PTSD and what that can do to people. But not too much commentary on the war or anything. So she's dealing with this very traumatic home life, this scary home life. And her mom is very, like, passive, and she makes up excuses for him, and kind of just lets it happen, and has some self-esteem issues, and she will just follow him wherever and do whatever he wants. And one day he comes to I can't remember her name. Lenny, right? Lenny. So Lenny's dad, Ert, comes to Lenny and her mom, Cora, and he says, I have a plan. We're going to move to Alaska. I can't even remember what his reasoning was, but he decided he wanted to move to Alaska. And so they just do it. They just move. And a lot of the book deals with what it's like to live in Alaska. What it's like living in a place where you have to live off the land and like hunt and just really survive that way, and by making friends and making family. A lot of this is kind of about found family, which I really like. And yeah, just what it's like to live in Alaska. And it was very atmospheric. I felt like I was in Alaska. Very good at that. And very good at making you feel like like you're in Lenny's head, I guess, and there's some romance in it, which is also really good. And it's very heavy. Most of the book is about her struggling. But yeah, I don't know, I really loved it. It felt very connected, and yeah, let me see if I'm forgetting anything. And it's funny because I learned a lot about Alaska, and Kristen Hanna is known for putting a lot of research into her books, like understanding the setting and the time period and stuff, and you definitely feel that in this book. So I learned a lot. I felt like I learned a lot about Alaska. Obviously I don't know everything about it, but I felt like, okay, I feel like I know what it's like, how cold it is, and really how cold it is, and what it's like during those months, winter months, and that it's not as nice as like you might think based on tourist depictions of it. And this book deals with that a little bit, talks about what it's like living there when tourists come and stuff like that. Anyway, it's funny because I want to go there now more than I ever had before, but it also made me see how not nice it is at certain times and in certain parts of it. So it's just funny, like it's weird that it made me want to go there so bad, but also maybe because just the idea of what it's like to live there does appeal to me, like being more at the roots of being human, like needing to for example, connect to people and make community to survive, and how meaningful that can be, and how real those connections can be in that like environment. And the idea of like living in a remote place does appeal to me. Sometimes. So, yeah, you guys, that's my top read of the year. Let me know if you've read it or any of these books on this list. Let me know if you read what your favorite book of the year was. Hey guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. Let me know. I think it was a long one. I hope that it was enjoyable and relaxing. And I hope that you're doing really well, and I hope to see you again in my next video.